Unreal Tournament is a multiplayer-focused arena shooter developed and published by Epic Games and Digital Extremes in 1999. It's the immediate follow-up to Unreal from the previous year, an incredible entry into the rapidly flooding genre that looked to take down the titan that was Doom and its brother, the Quake series. Every game that had you holding some sort of gun in first person was labeled as a Doom clone in those days, and Unreal was one of the first contenders to try to make journalists coin a different phrase for once. It never happened, but the attempt was real. That's it. That's the end of the last sentence. What, you were expecting something else? What do you... Back in my mediocre GoldenEye review, I practically self-filleted over my skill possessed in that game, and in terms of first-person shooters, thought myself to be highly skilled overall back then. Around that time, our family strung together enough money to get a bona fide PC for the first time, one that was ordered through Dell.
All you have to do is call or go online.
I was able to procure a copy of the newest game to come out a year prior, Unreal. This game was touted as not only being one of the best looking games of all time, but was able to run in software rendering, which was super important considering this PC was not really what you would call a powerhouse. It did have a whopping 6 gigabytes of hard disk space, which was probably the only standout feature in 1998. Couple that with a dial-up 56K modem, and we have ourselves the antecessor of hardcore PC gaming.
Yo, check this out, guy. This is insanely great. It's got a 28.8 BPS modem.
Yeah? Display?
Active matrix, man. A million psychedelic colors. Man, baby, sweet.
My experience with PCs at this point were very limited. I learned how Windows works at my grandmother's house, playing King's Quest in another room, which was one of the best experiences a hyper-ass kid like myself could have in that kind of environment. So armed with this basic level of knowledge, I installed Unreal and ran through the first couple of stages, barely being able to move and shoot. At this point in my life, I was like when your girlfriend tries to play a first-person shooter with you and is staring at the ground and or sky, trying to orient themselves, screaming internally for some kind of release from this social engagement. So what I'm trying to say is, back then, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing, but I was thrilled. Unreal remains one of my favorite PC games of all time, having one of the coolest sets of weapons for generations to come. But what I really wanted to try out was this multiplayer thing I'd heard about. Not knowing anything about servers and means to connect with anyone online, I somehow found myself on heat.net, a linked service that would connect you to a social lobby of sorts, giving yourselves an avatar, special font, and nick. That's what we called it back then, a nick. Get into the main lobby, and you could create a lobby of your own and invite people to play a specific match type. I found an open challenge room from a player, clicked on the room, and readied up. What began here was an unforgettable experience. I'm playing a game online against a random stranger on the internet. How cool is that? I'm also dying fucking-ly, non-stop, and I couldn't be happier. I'm sure that'll never get old. Heat.net not only worked for Unreal, but Rainbow Six, whichever it was back then, and other shooters that I was utterly annihilated, attempting to get a single kill in. You could not only chat up people in the lobbies, but also use voice chat in the created lobbies. I recalled getting into a 1v1 room and asking which map was the one with the bathrooms, and I was shocked to hear lavatory spoken by some guy. I then entered the match where I was repeatedly destroyed by the ASMD launcher. This blue ball was headed in my direction, and then I'm just dead. No idea why. I asked him why, and he said, "You're getting comboed." I'm not going to explain it to you. I was mingling with characters on Heat.net, and being the 15-year-old knob that I was obsessed with joining their clan. The name of this clan? Are you ready for this name? No, you're not, but here goes.
Dark Mercenaries of Death.
Or DMD for short. You just don't forget a name like that. How could you? The team leader, Labe99, was the man I would try to butter up to. I really wanted to be a part of this group. The other people in it, Killer Babe, Viet Soja, and Earthjam were the mainstays of the clan DMD. I distinctly recall the first time I asked to join their clan. by first joining one of their private rooms that they had not set a password to yet, and then flat out asking. Labby asked me, "Did you know what The Rock says about people that want to join our clan?" And I had no idea who the hell he was talking about. And he says, "The Rock says, know your role." And then I was booted out of the lobby. I persisted though, day after day, until they finally gave me a tryout out of pity. I lost 10-0, which was typical. But before you laugh, you young fuckers, understand something about Unreal and UT. If there is a skill gap, you lose, and you lose harder than you ever have up to this point in your life. Spawning in these games gives you a pea shooter that is nearly impossible to get a kill with, and gaining armor and health gives you a massive advantage over your opponent. And they're good with the 8-ball gun, and you're not? Well, you are not getting a kill. Ever. Despite my horrible attempt at the tryout, they made me a member of their clan. But only on the condition that I stop sucking so hard. And try I did. In between trying, there was plenty of chatting with these folk, and I recall some rather cringe interactions with myself, trying to convince these people that I was as cool as anyone else. What kind of cringe are we talking about? Killer Babe said something along the lines of, "You couldn't handle me, you're just a boy." A retrospectively accurate statement, and I wittingly replied, "You haven't had a real man until you've had a boy." Even back then, I cringed when I hit enter. Also, I think what I said would be considered illegal. One of the difficulties with getting better at this game was the fact that this game had been out for quite some time, and this hot new title called Unreal Tournament was piquing the horizon. This would be my chance, finally, some even ground to play on. I was so excited getting this box, and when installing the game, told me, "Well, we can run this game, just so you know, but good luck." And like most of my PC gaming life, just struggle bust my way through it. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and when this is all you got, it just looked amazing to me. I don't have enough time in the day to go over how many things this game got right, but I'm going to dive in and give it my best shot anyway. I have to start with the soundtrack, composed in UMX format, comprised of MIDI and MP3 sound bites set to a series of loops. Think of it as a Mario Paint's Music Maker on crack. But what helps it are these composers who were churning out some of the best tunes of the 90s, in my opinion. Just listen to this shit. All of these tracks are less than 3,000 kilobytes. Organic, codexed by Alexander Brandon, is a primarily unused track in the vanilla game, which is a shame since it's just fucking awesome. I used it on my various maps created with Unreal's built-in editor, Unreal Ed, the literal map kit that the devs used to create the game. Where was I? Oh yeah, I started to get kills in the game. I can recall one for sure where I was sitting on top of the leaderboard, pelvic thrusting in front of everybody. I was on the map Codex, featuring claustrophobic narrow hallways and a small slope of verticality to attempt to dominate with the ASMD rifle. I know it's called the shock rifle, but I always call it the ASMD because it stands for and suck my. Never being a particularly good user of the combo, I opted for and still prefer the flat cannon for its versatility and satisfying jibbing of predictable opponents. Fun fact I assume you already know, the flat cannon has a smiley face imprinted on each and every ball launched, which for a moment in time can be seen right before being hit in the face with it. As mentioned, although I was technically able to run UT on our Dell computer, it was running like shit. Grabbing a new weapon for the first time in a match meant I was subjected to a memory hitch, lasting for what felt like an eternity, but was probably closer to a quarter second of freeze. My favorite mode of the game, Last Man Standing, proved to be one of the hardest to play at this point, as I had to find a quiet corner to hide for a minute, as since you start the map with all weapons, you could cycle through all of them to get the hitching out of the way. My ping was hovering around 450 to 600 milliseconds on most days, with a ping of 300 being a great connection for me. Thankfully, my dad approved of me inserting more RAM into the motherboard, which was the first enrichment to Unreal Tournament, and literally everything else you could do on that computer, turning that piece of garbage computer into a piece of garbage computer plus more RAM. I became one of the better players on the clan Dark Mercenaries of Death, prior to their branding change to Da Brotherhood, a marginally less cringe name. I was not a fan of the name change, nor was the clan leader, clan members, anyone. It's just one of those decisions. Other clan things happened, such as when there was a beef with a player and another one, where we all jumped into a lobby and took turns singling out said bad guy, typing in our clan name with each kill. It's hilariously stupid nowadays, but to have a sense of belonging online, as it turns out, is nothing out of the ordinary. Nowadays, we just have Discord to vent our nonsense to strangers, but in this window of time, I couldn't get enough of the social experiment that was heat.net. Unfortunately, this was around the time that site went down for good, leaving us with the tried and true usage of the built-in server finder, which is something that I subsequently learned that existed this entire time. Apparently, you can just go to a server and play. Deathmatch and Team Deathmatch reigned supreme as the mainstay of UT, but also had a fantastic capture the flag mode, something that I rarely commemorate for any game, as I fucking hate that game type. But I know a good game when I see it, and this game's CTF maps are unbelievably well designed for it, with featured maps such as Facing Worlds and my personal favorite, CTF Lava Giant. There are a bunch of other, less popular modes that completed the game's playlist, such as Last Man Standing, which unfortunately, despite a cool premise of having 10 or so lives that you would have banked until you were the last one, only promoted people hiding around corners like an absolute bitch. Domination is here as well, and was a very early entry into what we now know as Domination. But with this game, you only had to touch the point instantly, causing the points to constantly change depending on who was currently touching the ground while players flopped around shooting their rocket launchers. There was a very interesting mode called Assault, with maps designed asymmetrically to help defend and attack, but with any game of this type was hugely reliant on game knowledge for teams to have anything remotely competitive. All in all, there were a lot of attempts at different game modes, but TDM and CTF were the bread and butter. And that fucking goddamn Instagib mutator. What is it with you people? I fucking hated Instagib. For nostalgic value, I decided to run through the deathmatch maps in the vanilla experience, playing against bots to reacquaint myself with all the bullshit that goes along with this game, and regale at some of the iconic map designs. First up, Curse. A wonderful remaster of one of the best Unreal maps, with long sightlines, some verticality, and near perfect weapon placement. Quad damage is left behind this wall, shield belt behind this fake wall. It's got a little bit of headshot. It's got a little bit of everything. Deck motherfucking 16. Possibly the best map in the rotation, and one of the most memorable for me. It has just such a fantastic flow to it, and a risky run to the shield belt is always welcome. No matter how you nab it, you are never in a good position. The highest position in here, unless you're a sniper rifle god, has little ammo and health, warranting you to stick to the lower levels. Fetid Sewers. Why did I include this? Because all things fair, this might be the worst multiplayer map I have ever played in any game. So there, Gothic. Between the music track, setting, and flow, this might be my favorite map in the game. Bullshit. Despite some odd flow in certain parts, I just dig this one's atmosphere. Also, the teleporters can have some odd encounters. Oh, well, the map's over. Grinder. This is a great map provided you stick to the murder zone, where Ellen's bot murdered the entire lobby in about 2 minutes. But to be fair, most games went this way back in the day as well. Hyperblast. This one is crazy random, with a ton of angles to approach any spots on the map thanks to the low gravity zone outside the confines of the ship. Galleon. Fuck this map. It's a cool design, but it's one of those where is everyone maps where you hear everyone fragging each other, but there's 3 different spots that they could actually be thanks to the not so great audio positioning. Leandry. One of the most memorable maps in the game for me, for whatever reason that is. This was a common 1v1 map for some reason, despite it being rather large for such a mode. It's got a great spiral flow to it, with a massive chamber to frag on the lower end, but plenty of height to rain down fire upon. Add in a couple of side arenas to teleport back into the main center area, and you've got yourself a classic map with very few faults. Malevolence. This was a DLC map before that was a thing, and one of the best of its kind. Probably the definitive 1v1 map once it became mainstream. It is a masterclass in weapon placement and balanced gameplay. Good shit. Also, Viperlicious needs to die, so I'm going to pulverize you with my piston now. GG, eat my nuts. Mojo. It took me a bit to recall this one, but then a burst of even larger nostalgia hit me. This is one of the OG deathmatch maps from Unreal, and this is the modernized version of it. While it's not even close to one of my favorites, it's still a classic just for the time period. Good shit, Cliff Bleszinski, if that is your real name. Morbius. Another remastered map. This one is delightfully symmetrical and simplified nonsense. All rocket launchers and a redeemer in the center. Have fun. Morpheus. Funny how things work out. I remember watching The Matrix on DVD when it came out, not really knowing much about the movie at the time. When Morpheus was introduced in the film, I thought to myself, like the map in UT. God, to have innocence like that again. Morpheus is a map that I'm not sure I'll ever know if I love or hate, as it's a very strange design with a cool premise. Low gravity areas take up the majority of the map, with players flying about and launching themselves into the abyss on the regular. It's not a map that I'd say the most skilled players will always land on the top of the leaderboards, as there's simply no way to control anything that's happening, at least in my opinion. Peak is another map that I hold dear to my heart. It's one of the first maps that our clan played on when we fired this beast up for the first time, and its crazy design and ultra claustrophobic gameplay guarantees mayhem with only a few players. I freaking love this shit. I'm sure that's a polarizing opinion, but there's no denying the ambition here. Phobos is a map that was super popular with everyone but me, but I do not like its layout and extra complex geometry. There's a ton to see here, but to me, it all comes down to the bottom area where everyone congregates. It's not bad, it's just not one of my favorites. Pressure. Now we're talking. One of my 3 favorite maps, easy. Why? Because you can do this to whomever gets greedy and tries to get the rocket, amp, and shield belt in this chamber. Shoot the button from either side and that person is fucked in there, guaranteeing a kill for the person that triggered it. Or they can take the easy way out if they are a bitch. It's a great map, but I only wish there was more weapons laid out in it, as there's a lot of empty space that I feel goes unused on this one. Tempest does a great job of orienting the player around based off of the color, since there's a lot of angles to cover here. And dude, look at those lighting effects. The shield belt is kept behind a risky run along this ramp, giving you that oh so overused bullshit line, risk versus reward element. I'm allowed to use that once, right? Turbine is one of my other favorite maps with its brutal simplicity and tight corridors. Any place that lets me bank shots with the flat cannon is a happy place for me. Just a light tap with the piston gets you high enough for this amp, which is absurdly close to said flat cannon, so have fun dealing with it if you don't spawn close to it. I just love the tightness of it, giggity. I also recall this being the map that I actually beat down my entire clan for the first time, so that probably gives me a bit more bias. Just awesome tunes accompany Zeto, and while it's nothing too spectacular, I will always enjoy looking at the attempt of ambience with these old brushed-worked maps. Nice job smacking everyone around, Ellen's bot. I'm not mad. Barricade. I don't know much about the lore of Unreal Tournament outside of the opening cutscene, but I don't recall the part about having a medieval castle in outer space hosting a deathmatch. Both ramparts harvest goodies, but most of the action is going to take place on the ground and underground areas. Style over substance, baby. Checking out Capture the Flag, I can't possibly leave out Facing Worlds, Probably the most iconic map in the game, to the point where people have 3D printed it. Such a simple concept. Two huge towers face each other, with an instant kill hit scan weapon on top with free sight lines across the entire map. There's not a lot outside of using the translocator to cross the gap to keep you from the utter chaos that this CTF map provides. The bots are impressively aggressive and dodgy, making this gap, and I can't believe how impressive this is for 1999. And this is on the third from the highest setting. Good job, Cedric Florentino, wherever you are. Personally, my favorite map remains Lava Giant, with a similar base versus base setup, but with a literal mountain in between them. As a designed map, it harbors way more bullshit and chaos, but atmospherically, I found it just awesome to play in. Also on the playlist is Assault, a mode that I personally never played much at all, as it was difficult to get lobbies with comparable players to fill. It's an ambitious idea, with Overlord taking obvious cues from Saving Private Ryan's fictional storming of Normandy Beach. Dude, everybody on TikTok knows that World War II never happened. Get with the times.
Engagement bait activated.
You have domination here as well, with its own specific maps designed around it, something that AAA studios with millions of dollars can't wrap their little heads around. I never cared for this mode, but always liked the idea that you could simply tap the point to make it your own, rather than be forced to sit vulnerable for what feels like hours, since no one on my fucking team ever captures the objective. Oh, you're covering me. Oh, that makes sense. Running off all of these modes is my favorite back then, Last Man Standing. We were allowed 10 lives and have every weapon in the arsenal, except the Redeemer, obviously. Simply eliminate your opponents with no health, armor, or other bullshit to keep you alive. And don't camp like a bitch. Like this dude on Galleon used to manage to get outside the ship, land on a polygon, and kept him from being seen by anybody. After I killed like 20 people with a couple of lives left, there sat this guy with all 10 lives remaining. He just jumped back into the ship and won by attrition. In the unlikely event that you're watching this, my guy, I hope you develop an allergy to sex and your children can't learn to read. Side note, don't try this mode with 16 bots at a high skill level. You will not win. There is a mode for a single player campaign, but it's merely a warm-up for online, and it's not really worth talking about. At the time, you could unlock the final boss's skin, which was an entry point for some, shall we say, dumb clans that were out there. For me, it was a good way to familiarize myself with some of the maps, so it wasn't a complete waste to do the campaign. I recall the publications lambasting this mode overall as a very risky decision, as nobody is ever going to buy a game strictly for multiplayer. Wow, that aged poorly. Let's talk weapons. They're just the best. I mean, they have their issues, especially now, but the fact is that there was such a disparity between this and most first-person shooters at this time. I guess Quake III might have had some cool shit, but I'm a fanboy, so that's all the acknowledgement I'm giving that game right now. For starters, Unreal's shitty pea-shooting plasma gun was replaced with the Enforcer, and while it's not a particularly good weapon, it's still light years ahead of that old crapfest. It's capable of doing heavy damage if you can land your shots, especially after nabbing a second one. Don't do what I do. Keep it on regular fire to keep things accurate. It's tempting to open it up for that faster rate of fire, but you lose a ton of accuracy. The goo gun is almost a comic relief weapon, with the exception of that one time I battled someone and lost 20-0 as he never missed a goddamn shot with his hot loads. Again and again, I tried to avoid his hot loads and kept getting it right in my face. It was almost like I was begging for his hot load in my face, but I swear I was just trying to avoid them. Unlike my need for loads in the face, the bots do an amazing job of not running into this stuff. Seriously, I just had one around the corner, shot my load all over the floor, expecting it to run in. The pathfinding knows not to run into this kind of hazard and simply waits for the load to disappear. If you're trying to exploit the AI, you're more likely to do better with the Ripper, with its crazy random bouncing of razor-sharp blades. If you want to avoid using luck, the alt-fire makes for an impromptu rocket launcher splash, and with a few good shots will piss your opponent off as they slowly die. The shock rifle is likely the most powerful weapon, having a hit scan and large blast that can spam, along with its combo, a huge, very painful AoE attack. Most players will be stuck in place trying to combo other players, but the ones that are really good could strafe while comboing, which was just sick as hell. I was stuck with 400 plus ping on a good day, so that wasn't happening. In modern games, you tend to be rewarded with hitting your target after your ping is registered, so you can usually simply target the enemy on screen. But in this game and others at the time, the feedback of your shots correlated with your ping. In other words, when you shot, the bullet or rocket won't come out until your ping is registered, meaning you lead your shots. This meant when I hit people with a rocket launcher with 500 ping, I had to aim almost a second ahead of where they were on my screen. It also meant that they couldn't target me either, so I earned the title High Ping Bastard once I got good. I stuck to the flat cannon as my weapon of choice, with its shotgun-like spray of opponents and powerful grenade blast to punish players that were predictable. In one of the few downgrades from Unreal, the rocket launcher needs no more introduction. Do as I say, not as I do. Charging up rockets up to 6 for a nasty spread is not actually that effective generally. You usually want to shoot one rocket at a time. In 1v1 scenarios, when you shoot them at their feet, you'll dispatch them way more effectively this way. I love the alt fire, raining grenades down chutes and sometimes right in someone's face. It's just got that shalunk sound that I can't get enough of. Of course, there's the Redeemer, something that most lobbies ban as it's just a cheap-ass Uber weapon. Personally, I think it's hilarious, but can understand people's gripes with it. It is pretty neat to be able to control it manually, but usually you're better off with the primary fire and taking cover. The sniper rifle rounds out the arsenal and is probably the most overpowered weapon in the game in the hands of a skilled player and or a person cheating with aimbot. You can zoom in with the right mouse, but generally just put a pixel on your screen and click on their head. That announcer, dude. Is there a better announcer in history? I don't think so.
Shot, bang, double kill, ultra kill. Dominate, ultra kill, monster kill. Unstoppable.
This game, and probably very similar games at the time, birthed what most first-person shooters games have now: auditory feedback. Dopamine is shot directly to your brain for that just reward of interrupting a 1v1 battle with minimal effort comboing. Oh. Apex Legends and Call of Duty, as examples, extend these things with hit marker sounds that dig into your very soul, making you play for the 8th time past your bedtime. They know what they're doing. I know they use skins and loot boxes to keep you playing, but really, I feel like it's that sound effect of digging into flesh.
I have eyes on the enemy. Broken enemy shield.
Get the fuck out of here!
Enemy shield broken. Recharging my shields.
And I'm probably wrong, but I'm crowning this game the father of that concept. Maybe Quake III did that too, but I'll never know. I'm too busy being clenched to this masterpiece. The music, it's just so good. Atmospheric at times, adrenaline pumping at others. Just hooked that shit to my veins already. And once again, this is all tiny electronic samples stretched across an essential MIDI player on steroids, with insignificant file sizes as small as 1 megabyte. It's fucking nuts, dude, and so efficient. This whole package, with dozens of maps, audio tracks, skins, textures, and whatnot, all fit on a single compact disc. And as I recall, didn't even fill that up either, with a CD capacity hovering around 700 megabytes. I love to nerd out on technical limitations, something that the Call of Duty devs don't have to worry about, as they apparently never have to optimize their shit, with Call of Duty currently taking up, what's it up to now? 326 gigabytes. Look, I get it. High-resolution textures take up a ton of space. So do cutscenes, and so on. But come on, dude. This game can't have this many unique textures to warrant that much space. My simple opinion is they fail to optimize for two reasons. A, it's cheaper, and B, they want you to free up other games to keep you playing that one. And I'll fight you on that one. I'll lose, but you'll get like a bruise or something on your knuckles from beating my ass. Where was I? The game is a masterpiece, with a few servers keeping the game up on a sort of proverbial life support after they officially shut down the servers for the game. It's still playable, especially with bots, but playing on the existing servers proved to be an exercise in annoyance of downloading what feels like 100 mods added to the game. Dude, just give me the vanilla experience anytime. I can't stand modifying a game to the point where you can't even recognize it anymore. But maybe I'm just the minority in this one. Oh, please don't make me do this. Let me know in the comments whether or not you like mods in your games. And masterpiece as it was, there's an undeniable barrier of entry that was not only present then, but really now, with such an old school approach to deathmatch design. The key is not to engage until you're ready. When are you ready? When you've grabbed the knee pads, body armor, rocket launcher, and shield belt on a loop. These prove to be so important that it dwarfs even skill gaps, making your opponent feel invincible if they manage to nab all of it before you do. Some of the weapons, like the sniper rifle, hit so unbelievably hard that they would turn matches completely on one side if the player was good enough with them, making some of the arenas and 1v1s completely one-sided. These are not like 1v1s of today, where you can score a kill once in a while. If the other player was significantly better than you, the tally was usually 20-0, and I swear I'm not exaggerating. It would never swing today, but in the days of the majority of players literally dialing up to play, it was the best thing out there. The game is more or less abandonware, so tracking it down is a simple affair. I picked this up on Steam, with the version working just fine for me, minus some issues with Unreal Ed working correctly due to the ridiculous file path it defaults to. If you're dicking around with Unreal Ed, you'll need to make some shorter folder paths to draw data from, since it won't recognize it after a certain number of characters. It's weird, but this game was programmed 26 goddamn years ago, so I'll let it slide. So yeah, Unreal Ed. How cool is this shit? Knowing the growing popularity of modding in the PC community, Epic just said, fuck it, here's the map editor, and here's the scripts to play with as well. I absolutely adored this program back in the day, making many different maps with some, as I had thought, cool tricks that nothing out there had. The editor was, and still is, pretty user-friendly. What makes this Unreal Engine so interesting to me is how the space that you play in is carved into existence by subtracting space, and then adding that space back in with brushwork. This is a very time-intensive process and is in no way what should be done now, but it's fun to revisit to see if I still remember some of my old tricks. And to add a cheap skybox to give me those sick clouds. So simple, yet so effective. During the writing process, I got a sense of nostalgia from making maps that I had hoped people would play. In another review, I had mentioned DM nostalgia and how I had wished I had kept those files to play through, and that maybe, just maybe, I would be able to play one more time. This made me randomly Google search for a database of maps, and for shits and giggles, I found a site called Unreal Archive, and searching by letter, I fucking found it. DM Nostalgia by Trevelyan. It brought a legitimate tear to my eye to see that splash screen on there. It works. And goddammit, it's a good-ass map. It's not going to have the polish that a professional map has, but the flow works pretty well for UT in my opinion. It was so cool to see my old clanmates on the wall, and holy shit, I completely forgot I made this texture. For fans of GoldenEye, this is both complex and stacked, separated by teleporters to warp between them, and a center drop to where the Redeemer would spawn. This is made possible by the game's built-in portal system, which allows a moderately seamless transition from areas that appear to be linked together. When you drop into this area, you are in fact nowhere near where you started. Kudos to old me on my DSL email account that is from legit 25 years ago for uploading this. I now can barely recall doing this, and unfortunately only this map, and not any of the other ones that I made. But I'm infinitely thankful for the Unreal Archive for still hosting this after 2.5 decades. Which, by the way, they're still accepting new maps as of right now. Now to track down that speedrun of Archives in 104. I know that tape is around here, god damn it. After I wrote that last paragraph, turns out I actually uploaded my original map under my actual name. Once again, never destroy something you create, because you can at least look back and cringe as fuck how bad that fucking first map was. This map was submitted on a critics site on Geocities called UT City. I was part of the review crew and had this dude review my map. This guy gave me good marks for originality for the opening closing of the ceiling, but criticized me multiple times for the amp room, as it automatically killed you for going up there. Apparently, he never figured out that you can just grab the amp and back onto the elevator before it goes back down. The idea is not to get greedy. Oh my god, this room is so cringe. I am 15 and this is deep. So cool that I'm able to play this though. Unreal was a truly special game for me, and its multiplayer sequel. In my troubling age of being riddled with anxiety and uncertainty, it opened up such a world for me that I felt a freedom that I never had up to that point. Interacting with people that judged purely on my terrible skill level and terrible ping was a huge welcome over what I had endured at my shitty grocery store job. UT, probably due to nostalgia and circumstance, will remain one of my favorite PC games of all time. Oozing so much 90s techno edgelordism, pelvic thrusts that can be keybound to ASMD combos, and the quintessential sound of the quad damage power-up. It had, and still has, a spirit of good sportsmanship and can never truly be taken seriously. Can it compete with its successors today? On a technical level, no. But in style, I don't think any game can replicate that fucking announcer.
Congratulations, you are the winner.
So good. Thank you for watching my shit! As always, an incredible thank you to South Boogie Bio, It's Joe's Fault, Hiroshima, Porygon for the win, and Servo K for being my Patreons. And as always, for now, until I get too lazy to do it, here are my new public subscribers. Clausedin, Jaleel Daniels, Ellis Douglas, Brandon Schneider, Jeff Cartier, Jacob Lee, Shub, not finishing that, Rusty96, Off Kilter Studios, Manny Lamont, STBA, Leonardo Soto, Volt, H. Garbuncle T, Verts, Karel Melinar, Dogatra, Toroso FX, No Comparisonic, Sibilistat, Rusty Tullock, Brony King, Amethyst Rain, Matthew Soldevila, Big Z,
Mr. Stagger Lee.
Robert Verquez, 0001 Man, Nashu 2003, Mr. Banana, Lunos, Professional Himbo, Saber Ratier, Handsome Losers Club, Kevin Still Draws, Der Hoff Alexample, Benny Boy, The Clan Hinshaw, Rue, Richard Gillespie, JD King 487, Two-Headed Hero, Mr. Scoops, Isaac Clark 1000B, Juan Medina, Klein Gespenst, best I can do, Cedric Dezar, Spectacular Poopfly, Jack, Jab 12305, Andres Agabar, Anton Shalon, Base Goer, Anthony Zirkle, the Nana Angel 505, I think, or it's Nana Nickel, Lemington, Matt Escobar, ZXX 1207, BC3, McMickey von Mickenhausen, Bruno C, Pizza Picante 27, Hellbeard, the KPA 11, Desecrator, and Sumo. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're staying safe in these uncertain times. The pandemic's over? Oh shit, dude. I'm gonna go out and get drunk. Fuck y'all. I mean, have a great day.